Deep dark family secrets is the theme of the day, beginning with the film at the number 6 spot, the excellent surprise, Cobweb. This is ML Miller Fright's Best in Horror Countdown 2022 through 2023. Counting down the best in horror within the window of October 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2023.
Number 6.
Cobweb was released on July 21st, 2023. It's available on demand from Lionsgate. It's directed by Samuel Bodin and written by Chris Thomas Devlin. Young Peter, played by Woody Norman, is a shy, bullied 8-year-old who suddenly starts hearing noises in his room in the middle of the night. What first starts out as knocking on the wall evolves into a voice from what seems to be a little girl trapped in the walls of his home. While his mother Carol, played by Lizzie Kaplan, and father Mark, played by the boy's Anthony Starr, insist it's his vivid imagination, Peter thinks otherwise, and when he draws an ominous picture at school, his teacher, Miss Devine, played by Infinity Pool's Cleopatra Coleman, becomes concerned something strange is happening in the home. It does seem something is off with Peter's family, but is it all in Peter's head? Or are his parents hiding an ominous secret in the walls of their home? Cobweb is this year's Barbarian, mixed with a little bit of Malignant. While it lacks the humorous central act of Barbarian, the ominous tone and nonstop rate of scares, shocks, and weirdness makes Cobweb stand out among most lame jump scare fests that litter the theaters. Cobweb's scares are real, earned, and potent. I spent the bulk of Cobweb wondering what type of horror movie this was. Is it a psychological horror film a la The Babadook, or a monster movie like The Boogeyman, or a ghost story like the recent Insidious sequel? Throughout the first hour of the film, director Samuel Bodin keeps what the real threat is under wraps, but gives some pretty unsubtle hints as to what the film wants you to believe. Cobweb is a dark fairy tale playing with the question of how well do we really know our parents. As a child, parents play a specific integral role, but more times than not, we don't really know them. Parents behave in ways that a child doesn't understand, be it something they think a child can't handle, something the child might not be ready for, or some kind of secret they never really want the child to ever know. They act different when the child is not around. Cobweb delves into these issues in the most devious of ways, presenting Peter's parents in a light reminiscent of the 80s horror film Parents and Tobe Hooper's Invaders from Mars, where seemingly innocent behavior of the parents is perceived as absolutely horrifying to the child. Cobweb offers up some effective scenes casting Peter's parents in the worst of lights. But are Peter's parents monsters, or is something much worse going on? I'm not telling. But what transpires is unexpected, strange, and absolutely unpredictable. The last half hour of Cobweb had me on the edge of my seat. I didn't know what to expect, and at some times I didn't know if I was supposed to believe what I was seeing or not. I tell you, this movie really messed with my head. Both Lizzie Kaplan and Anthony Starr are fantastically ambiguous here as the parents. Obviously, something else is going on that they aren't letting us in on, as the film is from the perspective of Peter, but Kaplan and Starr play ominous so well. Kaplan is usually strong at comedy, but here she's wonderfully bent as Peter's mother, Carol, who goes through an awesome array of feelings as the film plays out. Starr, unfortunately, is somewhat typecast, as he seems a lot like a more domesticated, yet still threatening Homelander from The Boys. But this typecasting ends up being a benefit, as nothing and no one is what they seem in Cobweb. Cleopatra Coleman is solid as a substitute teacher who crosses the line by getting a bit too close to her student. While this character is somewhat cliched in these types of films, she does a good job of it. But while the child actor often annoys the hell out of me, the real standout is Woody Norman, who was last seen with Joaquin Phoenix in Come On, Come On, and will next be seen in The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Not only does Norman look a lot like Lizzie Kaplan and could pass as her own child, he's a really strong little actor, acting naturally, understanding the scenes, and not just reading lines fed to him off camera. The screenplay for Cobweb has received a lot of recognition, as it is full of original twists and turns, and these accolades are well deserved as many of the scenes play out in two ways: the way the parents see things and the way the child perceives them. But what really impressed me was the splendidly diabolical way Cobweb looks. From the retro wallpaper lining every nook and cranny of the home to the wonderful dance of shadows director Samuel Bodin plays with, this is one good-looking movie. The set design is awe-inspiring as Peter's home feels somewhat like something out of a nightmare fever dream, with rickety boards, chipped paint outside, darkly lit rooms inside, and an overgrown pumpkin patch in the backyard. Bodin's camera really takes us into a world unlike our own, and it's a really scary world. Throughout, Bodin makes you feel something is just off camera, causing you to crane your neck to hopefully get a glimpse of what's really happening. This unpredictable way of filming gives a sense of unease, something Bodin did masterfully throughout his Netflix series, Marianne. I really am looking forward to seeing what Bodin and screenwriter Chris Thomas Devlin have in store for us next, after seeing this movie. Cobweb is a strong descent into horror unlike anything you're bound to see this summer. It doesn't feel like a knockoff of other films, and even if it does play off of childhood fears of the dark, like many horror films do these days, it does so in a way that feels fresh and dangerous. It's got an iconic threat, and really stands out amongst most of the mainstream horror films out there, as it's loaded with genuine scares and terrifying twists. NOCEBO was on my best of list for quite a while due to some really strong lead performances, but this story about dark secrets and their ramifications got edged off of the countdown after some last-minute additions. Still, it's worth noting. NOCEBO was released on November 4th, 2023. It's streaming on Shudder from RLJE Films. And available on demand and digital download on November 22nd from RLJE Films and Shudder. It's directed by Lorcan Finnegan and written by Garret, Shanley. Successful fashion designer Christine, played by Ava Green, has been suffering from an illness that baffles all her doctors and frustrates the hell out of her husband, Felix, played by Mark Strong. Just when she thinks her health problems can't get any worse, a Filipino woman named Diana, played by Chai Fornacier, arrives on their doorstep. Diana brings with her medical potions and rituals that seem to ease Christina's symptoms. But with this treatment comes a dark secret that proves to be the heart of Christina's problems. The best kind of horror films are cautionary tales, tales that warn you that you'd better be good or you'll get what's coming to you. It's amazing how many horror films abide by this golden rule. It's why the final girl is always so pure and innocent, and why the not-so-righteous get punished and killed so often with whatever the threat is, simply acting as the angel of vengeance against those who sin. That's basically the plot of NOCEBO, though it doesn't make it clear until the very end who is innocent and who's the victim and why they are that way. Still, because we know this is a horror movie, it's quite apparent what's going on from the beginning, though NOCEBO tries to keep it a secret until the very end. That aside, NOCEBO is filled with all kinds of stunning and horrific imagery that's not easy to shake. There's a mangy dog who stalks Christina, who is riddled with ticks that will make every inch of your skin crawl. When the dog shakes, the ticks fly off in all directions, and Christina happens to be way too close when that happens, causing the ticks to shower all over her. It's an absolutely disgusting scene that I surely won't forget. The climax is also iconic and bold, ending with another image that is going to be seared into my brain pan for a good long time. NOCEBO is filled with all kinds of tactile terrors that are going to make you scratch and squirm. The other draw to this film is going to be the elegant gorgeousness of Ava Green. I don't know any other actress who goes to so much pains to make herself look ragged and roughed up and still manages to be drop-dead gorgeous. But she's not just a stunner, she's one of the best actresses out there that isn't afraid to get her toes bloody in the horror genre. Green is phenomenal here. Even though her character is oozing with privilege and hoity-toity airs, she still managed to make me feel for her plight. It might have been that tick shower she takes in the opening moments that made me sympathize with her. Mark Strong is underutilized in this one as the absentee and frustrated husband. This is Ava Green's show, and she carries the movie capably. Still, Chai Fornacier, who plays the mysterious Diana, does so with a lot of elegance and grace. She's a character filled with complex feelings, which are directly tied to Christina, and she would be the standout in any other movie if not for Green's overwhelming presence. NOCEBO is wonderfully acted and visually creative, abrasive, and invasive. While I predicted the end, I wasn't prepared for the terrifying way that end was going to come about. This is a very interesting and unique film, dealing with modern topics in mystical ways. It's a kind of unconventional horror that there should be more of. As always, feel free to agree, disagree, or how about you play along at home and give me your own picks for your favorite horror movies. It's October, so let's talk horror. Come back tomorrow for the next level in the Best in Horror Countdown. Be sure to hit all of those pertinent bells and whistles down below, and you'll never miss a post. Happy Halloween, folks.